What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Welcome to the show. It's another Wednesday afternoon. It's 130 Wednesday afternoons in a row, and we are here to talk to you today about a movie we didn't know we were ever going to get to talk to you about, but it's friggin' sweet. It's Captain America, The Winter Soldier. This is some people's vote as the best movie in the MCU. It's certainly some people's favorites, and I can't friggin' wait to talk to you guys about Captain America, The Winter Soldier. We'll see you in a second.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Action Movie Anatomy.
Boom! We were on the downbeat with that explosion. That was masterwork, Marissa. Thank you
been a DJ
so much.
130 episodes.
Ha 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 ha. 9.5 plus 4 pennies.
9.5 plus 4 pennies.
Is that what he says?
Yeah.
Add that shit up.
Add that shit up.
What's that spell? D-I-E.
No.
All right, we're going to get into stuff right now. What's up, guys? Welcome to Action Movie Anatomy. We're back. We're here. It's Wednesday, and good Lord, is this movie going to be sweet to talk about.
This is really exciting to talk about. This is one of those, like you said in the intro, we thought we were never going to do this movie ever.
Yeah, you know, you cover a lot of movies that you like on this show, and slowly but surely you start to realize there's movies that, you know, the concept of the show changes a little. As we mentioned to you guys, we're going to be kind of opening things up.
Like, for action movies, this just needs to be covered. Like, it has to be covered.
This is like an old, like, Clear and Present Danger, except it's a superhero movie.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
That's like what this movie feels like. It's a spy thriller.
Yeah, it's a spy thriller, and it's coming out in the height of the Marvel Universe, and it wasn't quite when people were like, I think when Guardians came out was when people were like, I don't know if this next Marvel movie is going to be good.
Totally. It's the same year, which is the craziest part.
Right, and I think this coming out and all the hype behind it was like, by the time Guardians came out, I didn't go see it in theaters.
Neither did I. I didn't see it for quite a long time.
But this movie was shockingly good.
Shockingly good. Well, yeah, so there's so much to talk about, guys. This is Action Movie Anatomy. We talk action movies on this show. Those action movies adhere to 4 basic rules. Rule number 1, the hero always plays by their own rules. Captain America definitely plays by his own rules. Absolutely. And this is the movie where he decides he's going to play by his own rules. Yeah. Rule number 2, the hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, things, what have you in the room.
I mean, Redford is definitely, he's like more so the villain because he's like controlling everything.
Right.
Well, I mean, Hydra. So...
Yeah, I mean, Hydra
as a whole is always like very smart.
Yeah, and Roger's like just the smartest with a shield. He punches his way out of everything. Rule number 3, the movie is driven by police, military, political, or mercenary figure. Roger's technically is military.
Yeah, I mean, he's Captain America.
Yeah. And finally, the movie contains a minimum of 1 explosion. There's quite a few in this movie.
Always.
And they're sweet. So those are the 4 rules we try to stick to on Action Movie Anatomy. We are going to get into everything we are doing on the show today. But before we do, we should throw a few shout-outs out. The first one. You guys can follow along with me personally, Ben Bateman Media, Twitter, Instagram, if you'd like to.
And you guys can find me at Andrew Ghai on Instagram and Twitter. And you can also find the podcast at AMA Podcast on Twitter.
You can also find 2 very special Facebook pages. The one for this show was started by a couple of the fans of the show, supporters of the show. Action Movie Anatomy fan page. It's a group on Facebook. It's getting near like 1,200 people in it, which is a lot of fun. Yeah. And then there's the Action Army, which is specifically for our characters that we play in the Schmodown. And what you're going to find on both of those pages right now, if you go look, is a link, a video that Andrew and I have just made and posted. And I'll tell you what, guys, this is an exciting day. If you're watching live, you've been waiting for this. Andrew and I are finally going to be doing additional movie-related content together every single week.
Yes, I know. It's so exciting. You and I have been talking about this since day 1 of doing this show.
Yep.
And today we've had a very long mornings. We've had a lot to do, but we were able to get this done, and we are so excited. We have been wanting to talk about more movies and different types of movies for so long, and this has finally kind of given us an opportunity to do that.
So what you're going to see on those pages, and it'll be on Twitter and everything, by the end of this episode we'll share it out. There is a link to a video we made, and it's introducing the Team Action Patreon. Yes. So this is not a Patreon for Action Movie Anatomy. This is not a Patreon for the Schmodown. This is Andrew and I creating additional content that is not always going to be action movie related. Sometimes it'll just be movie or TV related.
It's the Action Army Patreon, which means there is no limit to what we can cover.
Yes, and if you go look, patreon.com/teamaction, you'll see there's a bunch of really cool tiers. If we get more pledges, you're going to notice we're going to start to get more videos coming out every single week, different kinds of videos. There's different levels as pledges that you can be more involved. Go check it out. You can call into AMA. There's a lot of really fun stuff on there.
You can call in, you can be a guest, you can create a segment. You can pick the movie that we're going to cover for the week if you donate enough. You know what I mean? The possibilities
are
endless, as they say.
Yes, but guys, so go check it out, patreon.com/teamaction, and you'll see we're trying to make this fully available to all of the fans of the show, to anybody who likes Andrew and I talking about movies. For a minimum of $1 a month, you will get extra content every single week, one video every week. And it'll scale up if we get more people involved.
Yeah, and we don't want to exclude a lot of our members out there of the Action Army. We know money is tight, and we know that we are not expecting you to pay anything. So we will be releasing highlights and some of those videos down the road for you guys to see. And today's is directly correlated to this episode.
And today's is for everyone. We are not putting it behind a paywall. It is actually uploading as we speak right now. Today's video are the top 10 casting choices in the history of the MCU. We rank our 10 favorites, the ones we think are the 10 best, and that should literally be live on it's actually on my YouTube channel, Ben Bateman Media. You can find that, and you can find some MCU revisited videos I've been doing and all kinds of fun stuff there. So that's the big, huge news announcement today. Go check it out. Patreon.com/teamaction if you guys want to be on board, part of the fun. Like I said, $1 a month is all you really got to do it, and otherwise you'll get the content eventually anyway. So let's get into today's episode with Winter Soldier,
the trailer. People are excited in chat, so are we.
Are they?
Yeah,
it's exciting.
Most of the intelligence community doesn't believe he exists.
Forget about it, kid. They are ghosts.
The ones that do call him the Winter Soldier.
Grillo's pretty good in this.
Yeah, Grillo's great. Yeah,
He's
love
a
that
ghost.
guy.
You'll never find him.
He was one of my favorite people to ever hang out with at a party.
Yeah, you always tell me that. And he seems like he would be. Just
he
like
was
the coolest dude.
I talked to him for a long time at that premiere, and he was great.
Captain, to build a better world, sometimes means tearing the old one down.
It's amazing tonally how different this movie is than First Avenger, or any of the MC movies to this point, actually.
Yeah, it's definitely darker.
Way darker.
It doesn't ever slip into what feels like dark.
No.
You know, even for a Marvel film. I'd say the first time we got dark was maybe Logan, even though that's not in this universe.
Yeah, from Marvel. Yeah, that's probably pretty fair.
Are you ready? All it takes is one step.
This looks so sick. I don't know why I wasn't so amped to see this.
It's because First Avenger wasn't that sweet. It was, in retrospect, it's
when
good.
you go back and watch it, it's great.
Yeah, it's,
like,
it's above average. It's like totally enjoyable. Like I had a really good time watching
When do
it.
we start? You just did.
I just don't care about Falcon, even though I like him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
The price of freedom's high. And it's a price I'm willing to pay.
There's
told me not
so
to
many
trust anyone.
Amazing fight scenes.
This is how it ends.
Yeah, the action in this movie is tremendous.
So sweet.
In the elevator.
Looks like you're giving the orders now, Captain.
Damn right.
Came up.
Good guys from the bad guys. If they're shooting at you, they're bad.
Yeah. God, that looks cool. So, there's so much to talk about. All right, guys, so we are going to get into today's episode. We are going to be talking about the definitive rankings list of the villains in the history of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We are going to be taking some of your AMA questions, doing fist pump, thesis, all the fun things you have come to know and love on the show. So right now, we're going to get into the first one, and that is going to be Thesis Statement. Thesis Statement's like that bold thought you have. It's your biggest thought. It's this, what?
What is this picture? It's like if someone were to talk about the Winter Soldier at a party and they showed you that picture, you'd be like, what do you... this would be the one argument that you stand by. This is the one thing that you would bring up, and you'd be like, this is why the Winter Soldier is my favorite this, or this is my favorite thing about it, or this does the greatest thing for Captain America.
When somebody says, and you're like, you know what the thing is about the Winter Soldier? Well, it's this, and then you stand behind it and you defend it.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go first?
I do want to go first.
Yeah, go ahead.
And for me... going back and watching The Winter Soldier, I didn't really like it that much the first time around. I don't know why. I didn't really like Captain America that much.
Yeah.
I think that's what the problem was. But going back and watching it, and over the last 3 or 4 days, I've watched a lot of Marvel movies.
Yep.
Like 8 or 9. And I think, and this is like a very small thing, but I realize that when you go back and you watch Wonder Woman and you look at Civil War and stuff, the evolution of Cap's powers by Anthony and Joe Russo in Winter Soldier is the greatest thing to happen to the Marvel franchise, Captain America, the action in it, everything. And let me kind of narrow this down a little bit. Tighten it. What I'm talking about is in the first movie, in the first Avenger, you see how strong he is. You see he's a badass. You see that he can jump higher and jump farther. But in the beginning of Winter Soldier, you actually see that he is a superhuman, a god among men. Yeah. You see him. I love, like, in Civil War, but you see him, like, throw the shield, and he's like, the physics of that shield, like, the physics that defines physics or whatever. Yeah. It's just things like that. But so, on the very beginning of the boat, he jumps out of the helicopter without a parachute.
And the guy's like, is he wearing a parachute? He's like, no.
Nope. He wasn't. Straight into the water, right? Yeah. And he comes up and he jumps on the ship. And the first thing you do is you see him, like, start fighting people. But it's changed from the first movie. Yeah. When he kicks people, they fly and, like, dent walls. He, like, murders people left and right.
Totally agree. It's honestly, I'll save my fist bump moment for it's related to what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But
and even in the elevator, when he's like, looks like you're the one calling the things now, Cap, and he, like, hits the shield and he, like, picks it up. Even things of how well he controls the shield. Yeah. It's incredible.
It's the coolest. It's the thing when I was watching this movie again after having seen it a couple years ago the first time, I noticed it the most distinctly. It was like very clear to me, okay, so he can take, Thor's hammer to his shield and survive. He can take a god's hammer. Yeah. He can take a punch from Hulk. Like, this guy's not just a super strong human. He's a superhero.
He's a superhuman. He can take a hit from a god.
And I think they did a good job in the first movie, but a better job in the second movie because they had already done Avengers, so it had to be clear he can hang with these other guys. Yeah. Like, he could fight Iron Man.
So him jumping out of his 60-story building and landing on... I guess it was just like the utilization of Captain's powers in this movie was just... It was so incredible to me.
Yeah. It's my single favorite thing about it.
Yeah.
So my thesis statement is a lot more on the nose, and it's one that I've thought about a lot. I had considered doing one that relates to our additional piece of content we put out today, but I decided to skip that one. This is the best movie in the MCU. I don't even think that's controversial, but I know there's 5 movies there's the cream of the crop 5 that people argue for.
It's like Iron Man and Guardians and this.
Yeah, I think the 5...
first Avengers.
I think the 5 are Iron Man... Avengers, Cap 2 and Cap 3, Guardians.
Someone just said it's like learning the ins and outs of a new car, and that was one thing I also noticed. I just want to keep talking. Even in Iron Man 3, you saw a lot of him like having to fight with only parts of his armor. Yeah. And like utilizing just the hand and just the leg. And like it's so crazy. You're sitting there watching, like, man, Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark is such a genius in the way that but then you're like, God, those fucking choreographers are geniuses. Shout out to our buddy Fernie. I'm so excited. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah. So I think I don't think this is the best MCU movie. I believe that the list of 5, the notable movies to talk about, are Iron Man, The Avengers, Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Captain America: Civil War, Guardians of the Galaxy, and then maybe some people in the top 5 would probably put Spider-Man: Homecoming would be my guess.
Really?
People love Homecoming. Yeah. Homecoming's great. It was really good.
I watched it again recently. It wasn't as good.
And eventually, I think you and I will probably do a ranking of all the MCU movies, probably after Infinity War,
maybe we
or Black Panther or something like that. But to me, this is just so clearly far and away the best one because to me, even though those other movies are great, and they are, and each one of them has its own special quality. Yeah. This movie to me, it feels like watching my favorite kind of movie, which are those like really tight spy thrillers with great action. But the villain's such a badass and he's so threatening. And like Rogers like gets darker and his suit looks really cool. And that fight on the beginning of the boat's probably my favorite part of the whole movie.
I can't get over the fight on the freeway and the overpass and all that.
Oh my God. And Bucky and his fingers go down.
Yeah. Or even just like Sam escaping. Yeah. Is incredible. So, man, it's crazy because I'm starting to find a new love for this franchise, and I don't know if I can really disagree with what you're saying.
I just think that it's like when I watched Iron Man again, Iron Man's so good. the ending's a little crappy, and Tony, Jeff Bridges is okay.
Yeah.
Avengers is a really fun, like a super fun adventure movie. It's got like so many good things, got like emotional moments, does something innovative, not ultimately is rewatchable to me. It doesn't take itself as seriously. Guardians is incredible, and to me, Guardians is the other best one. And I just watched Guardians again, and I love it. But again, to me, this movie is better because I get more excited and invested in the coolness of it. And you know, Homecoming's just not up there. Civil War is close, but I still think that this movie feels more self-contained. It feels like a smaller adventure with less characters. It doesn't have to be as gimmicky.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it relies on the flash and the bang and all
So a lot
that.
of gimmicks behind Avengers and Civil War. They're both just like Avengers movies.
Yeah, I mean, this is just a straight up brilliant movie, and I think I turned this movie on a handful of times over the last week to try to refamiliarize myself with it.
Yeah.
And then when I finally watched it, I watched it 3 full times, I think, by the time that the week had ended. And I don't know if there's many other Marvel films other than Logan that really make me want to watch them again and again and again, like in that short of a period. I want to watch them all again. I love them. But there's something about Winter Soldier. It's clean, it's tight, the third act, like, it still holds together. I agree. I think it's the best movie.
Yeah, and you know, some of you guys have been following on my YouTube. I've been doing MCU Revisited, so I've now posted 4 of those videos. The 5th one will be coming up soon here. Eventually, I'll get to this one, so I'm kind of burying the lead a little bit. You already know that this is my favorite, so you're going to hear that again when I do it. But yeah, anyway, I think we're going to move on past Thesis Statement, but those are my big thoughts. My other Thesis Statement, and I'll just throw it out now, is that I think Chris Evans is the best casting choice also in the MCU. And I'm now convinced, and that's a teaser to the video we did.
Yeah, we'll see if that actually ends up holding up, because I did not feel the same for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I do now.
Okay, yeah. So you guys will have to check that video out. So we are going to move on to the next part of the show, and that is fist pump moment. And there's a lot of fist pump moments.
There's so many. So let's talk about the ones that aren't ours.
Well, first, give me a second. Let's introduce fist pump moment.
Oh, right.
For
I'm
the
so
new
excited.
listeners. Guys, fist bump moment's that moment you're watching the movie, something happens, you look around, you're like, God, are you seeing this right now? This is so awesome. I get to watch the rest of this movie right now. You're so pumped. You want to call your buddy, and so you do. And then they are like, I'm busy, and you're like, I don't care. Listen to what I have to say.
You have to go watch this right now. And like,
they are, I would say fist pump moments get better the more you drink. Just kidding.
I actually think that's a direct correlation. It's scientific. So I don't think either of us have Nick Fury as our fist pump, right?
No, it's a great moment,
but
though.
the propulsion gun and all that, and he's like, wait, wait. And he's like, 19%, 1%. He's like, no, and he just kills everyone.
Yeah.
I also love that they just started killing everybody.
Yeah, totally.
in the Avengers movies. That needed to happen. That part is super sick. Let's see, what else is there in there that aren't? You want to go? Do you want to say
I'll
it?
just
Okay,
jump
what is
in.
it?
It relates to what you were talking about with the boat, because the boat initially was my fist pump, but I found my fist pump moment was actually when right after Fury gets shot, and Emily Van Camp, Sharon Carter, Agent 13, reveals herself, and she calls it in, and he's like, she's like, do you have ID on the shooter? And he's like, tell him I'm in pursuit. And he just takes off. And this is my favorite thing, is that it's like, this is another great example of how much of a force of nature Captain America is.
Yeah.
He's just running through doors. It's
walls.
It's my favorite thing. He starts running, and he literally just runs and just blasts through doors.
It's not like they open up. It's like the whole wall breaks.
At one point, he like slips and slides and smashes into a wall and just significantly dents the wall. Like, it's so cool. And then he gets on the roof and he throws the shield to Bucky, and Bucky catches it.
Yeah, that catch.
Yeah,
that catch is so badass.
So here's the question: why did he throw the shield back at him?
I've wondered that a lot, because it happens a lot throughout this movie where Bucky keeps getting it and throwing it back at him.
Yeah.
I think it's just because he's just like, fuck you.
Or do you think it's subconscious programming?
I don't think so. I think he's literally just like, I just want to use everything and anything to kill you.
Yeah.
Including your own weapon.
Yeah, because he throws it back at him, and I guess maybe he thinks he's stronger than Captain America. Like, maybe he would get him.
Right.
Or something.
Which is not a good decision.
We didn't talk about George St. Pierre playing Batroc yet.
Okay. I was like, why do I know who this guy is? Yeah. That is a pretty sweet fist pump when he's like, take off your armor and fight me. And then he just destroys him.
Just
like,
not even close.
If there was even one moment of hesitation in that, it would have been such a letdown.
Yeah.
But he just crushes him. The catch in itself is incredible.
Really cool.
The S.H.I.E.L.D. catch. But my favorite, and it's always been my favorite, the mechanizing of the arm when he wants to make it stronger or like weaker or like grip things. My favorite is when he goes and he stabs the van and and he just cuts through the van like paper with that knife.
Really cool.
Every time I'm like, that is so sick.
Yeah, their hand-to-hand fight in that moment's really cool, right before he finds out that it's Bucky.
Yeah, I mean, because he starts with like an assault rifle, and then he goes to a pistol, and then he goes to knives and hands, and then back to knives. That fight might be the greatest fight in the whole universe.
They just do such a good job of making him like a badass threat. I don't know. It's just, and it's also crazy if you think about it. They had to cast Sebastian Stan in Captain America First Avenger, knowing that this was the storyline they were probably going to go towards. Yeah. That he was going to have to pull that role off. And it's such a departure from who he was. It's just great casting.
Yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, guys, I don't know. I know there's hundreds of other fist pumps. Throw them in the chat. Throw them online. Let us know what else you think. Let's get moving on.
Yeah, let's get moving on.
Let's talk about, so there's so many people that could have been the secondary character in this. It could have been Sam Jackson. It could have been Scarlett Johansson. It could have been Sebastian Stan. But I went with Scarlett for the reason of, it really feels like it's their movie.
It does, yeah. It is their movie. They're the stars. It's they're driving the story. You could have gone Sebastian Stan. By the way, I realized that this is Iron Man 2 ScarJo hair, but I just like her hair like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but I pulled this picture rather.
Octavio Espinoza said, after the fight in the elevator when he jumps out and lands, 60 stories and hits the ground,
lands
chills.
on the shield.
Yeah, that's
and he's
amazing.
Trying to get up, but it's like, and Jasper was like, Jesus Christ, he just jumped out of the building. Yeah, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, that's amazing. So Scarlett Johansson here, she did Under the Sun in 2013, Her in 2013, and Chef in 2014. And the thing about Scarlett was that she was still an A-lister. She was still a superstar, but it kind of felt like her light was dimming a little bit.
Yeah, I would say she was really good in Avengers in 2012. That was a big deal. They brought her back as a major character. But this is the character that has really kept her career like humming, because she hasn't had. Well, actually, we're probably wrong by that. Lucy was a really big hit, made a lot of money.
Yeah.
Her was Oscar nominated. It was great. Yeah, I mean,
but but you still had movies like Ghost in a Shell come out. So it's weird. I know that just came out this year or this last year, but it's just interesting because for someone who is as big of a star as Scarlett Johansson is, it does feel like she's kind of not pigeonholed herself, but it just seems like she's kind of plateaued. I don't see. I mean, plateauing at Avengers is a pretty great place to plateau.
Yeah, she's super.
But you
famous.
do know what I mean in the sense of like Jeremy Renner after doing the Avengers, he gets Wind River, and like these people. It seems like and Evans gets Snowpiercer after doing Captain America, and she kind of had a few, but like it seems like everyone else, all the other leads in the whole franchise, seem to have like their own careers like blossoming. Yeah. Whereas it seems like hers and like even Sam Jackson's are kind of just at the Avengers now.
I would say that the most interesting thing about Scarlett Johansson in the context of what we're talking about is that aside from, RDJ, who was kind of on his way back up, and Iron Man and the Avengers really skyrocketed him, she had been very famous and a near A-list star for years before she showed up.
Almost everyone, almost more so than anyone else in the franchise other than like Sam Jackson.
Yeah, like Evans was, Human Torch, but those movies sucked. Nobody.
He was also not another teen movie.
Yeah, by the time he was in Sunshine in 2008, it was like his.
Oh, that guy.
Right. It was like not like, oh, he was the Human Torch. It was like, oh, he was the Human Torch. He's trying to do something that's not horrible. And
there's something about a thesis too of him being able to overcome the Human Torch and become Captain America as well as he did.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
It's insane. And so to me, like I think we talked about this a little bit. She was in that movie Ghost World with Thora Birch from like 2001, based on the Dan Clowes comic, and it was like a total indie darling. She was like in her early 20s, but she was really blowing up. Like she was blowing up for 10 years before she was in this franchise.
Yeah.
By the time she was cast as Black Widow, she had a decade of success already. Like Chris Evans kind of, but she had been like legitimately successful the whole time. The
Yeah, I didn't
Island
feel
in
like
05.
this movie made her star any brighter. It didn't.
No, Avengers is like the peak. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's also interesting that there hasn't been the solo ScarJo Jeremy Renner movie yet, though. But I know they've been talking about it. This is the thing they're greenlighting now. She's going to get her own movie.
Oh yeah, which I think would be good.
Yeah, it's called Red Sparrow, starring Jennifer Lawrence.
I was seriously just gonna say Red Sparrow looks, yeah. So on the other end of that, you have Chris Evans, who he was doing before the Avengers in 2012 is like what we were just talking about.
Captain America,
Captain America,
2011, yeah.
not another teen movie. So he did the Avengers in 2012, the Iceman in 2012, and he also did Snowpiercer in 2013. Now I've heard really good things about Snowpiercer. I still haven't seen it.
Polarizing. It's good. Some people
Yeah.
think it's like weird. It is weird.
Yeah.
The Iceman is a highly underrated Netflix movie. Have you seen that?
Is that
the Michael Shannon one?
Yeah, I've seen that. I don't remember Chris Evans in it though.
Yeah, he's the guy that drives the ice cream truck.
Oh yeah,
He's got the long hair.
No wonder I don't remember him. That's the other thing. I love that he can just transform. He's a chameleon, that Chris Evans.
Yeah, and then the Avengers. So he's definitely massively famous. There's a lot of talk about what's going to happen after the Infinity War films come out. You know, that RDJ and Evans are both supposed to move on from the characters.
Damn, that would. I mean, like, I'm kind of expecting Iron Man to die.
Yeah.
In the Infinity Wars, it just feels like that's what's going to happen based off of his contract and money and just everything, his interest.
Yeah.
But I would be so bummed if Chris Evans died or left the franchise.
Yeah, there's ideas. I think for one, because it happened in the comics for a while, you could kill Chris Evans and Sebastian Stan can become Captain America. That's a thing. That's like probably what'll happen.
It's kind of a bummer.
It'll be fascinating to see what phase 5 looks like.
4.
Well, phase 4 is what we're going into.
Oh, so Infinity's. I thought that is 4. Oh, you mean Black Panther is 4 and stuff.
That's all 4. I'm saying phase 5. At the end of the Infinity.
Oh, you mean after Infinity?
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see what the MCU looks like, because at that point we'll be getting into movies like 22, 23, 24.
Yeah.
A lot of these actors, like, their careers are just tied to this. Guys like Renner, like, you figure he's probably done. He's probably going to die. You got to figure Robert Downey Jr. is going to die.
So my question,
Ruffalo, I have to think.
something we talked about a little bit, and I think this is we got time. Production, guys. For production, we're going to kind of just breeze through it because I don't know. It's an Avengers movie. It's a Marvel movie. I more so want to talk about this thing that we talked about earlier, which is Nick Fury Sam Jackson's career-defining role? You said this, and I think it's just a very interesting thing to talk about.
Yeah, career-defining role, Sam Jackson. So, Sam Jackson's notorious. He's been in like 150 movies. Bit part actor, character actor, cliche actor. At one time, people thought he was a good actor, or like a like a dramatically talented actor. And he has his moments, but he's become much more of the last decade. He's become much more of like, it's Sam Jackson in a movie playing Sam Jackson. Like, that's what he does now.
Yeah, and honestly, him and Django was fantastic.
Yeah,
as the house servant.
Yeah, I mean, Tarantino did a lot for his career,
and he's great in Pulp Fiction. But like, when I think of Sam Jackson, I guess for me, I still see the fro and him yelling "motherfucker" at me.
Shaft?
No.
Oh.
In Pulp Fiction.
Oh, sure.
I still see that. I still see that character as Sam Jackson.
Jules,
always. Royale with cheese, like.
It's one of the all-time characters, for sure. I mean, that's...
But I don't know his name off the top of my head.
Jules,
right.
Yeah, I don't think that's his career-defining role. I think it's one of the most... I just think, at this point in time, thinking about his whole career, the most memorable movies that he's ever been in are, like, Pulp Fiction's super famous, the ones that get made fun of a little bit, so, like, Deep Blue Sea... Or like, I guess probably as we got into like the 2000s, like he's in Incredibles, he's in Unbreakable. He's got like a lot of memorable parts, but when
I'm like
Mace
I'm trying to
Windu in the
rack
Star Wars
my-
movies.
Definitely purple lightsaber.
Yeah, but like when it really comes down to it, man, he's been Nick Fury in like 10 movies or something like that. He's been in like most of these
And
movies.
he's so good at Nick Fury. He's so good at playing Nick Fury.
He's just very solid. You know what's really funny about that, and this is a story I think I've probably told you before, but in like 2001, Mark Millar, one of our favorite comic book writers, because he's written like half the movies we've done on the show, He did a comic book series for Marvel called The Ultimates, and Marvel at the time had launched this imprint called the Ultimate Universe, where they were basically rebooting all of their classic characters, but giving it kind of a fresh, younger feel. So Ultimate Spider-Man is where a lot of the inspiration for like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies came from. Ultimate X-Men, and the Ultimates was supposed to be the ultimate version, the Ultimate Universe version of the Avengers. And this artist named Brian Hitch, I think Brian Hitch, he did the art. And it's like very photorealistic looking art. He based all of his characters off of like actors to some degree. So the way he penciled each character is kind of an actor. And the most interesting one is that Nick Fury classically was white in the comics, and he made Nick Fury Sam Jackson. He drew him as Sam Jackson. That's clearly who he was in the comic books. It wasn't even like a question. He wanted to make basically the blockbuster movie version of Avengers in a comic book. So it's funny that years later they just cast Sam Jackson because the new reinvented version of the Avengers, which is totally what the movie looks like,
is with Sam Jackson essentially.
Yeah, he just drew him.
And he looks perfect. And the fact that he is black and not white just feels very appropriate because all the Avengers are basically white now.
Yeah.
And now we have Black Panther but
Sam Wilson.
Yeah, so I think so, and I think most people in the chat agree.
Yeah.
That, I mean, a couple people said Jules, and a couple people said whatever his name is from Snakes on a Plane, and
oh sure.
Yeah, I think it is Nick Fury, which is so crazy that far down in his career, after already having 100 movies, that would be his defining role.
He's the guy that if you used to play the movie game where you tried to like think of when we used
impossible.
to play, he's the guy that if you tried to play that game, you would never get even 60% of his movies because like even if you and I could think of 70 movies,
that's not even half.
It's not even half.
Yeah,
like,
and there's no way we would even get to the 70. I don't think.
No, it's like
there's so many small bit parts.
He's just in everything.
All right, so moving on to production development. This was directed by Joe and Anthony Russo. They also directed, let's see, the post-credit scenes in Ant-Man. They also did Civil War.
Yep.
They did...
They did like a pilot for Arrested Development.
Right.
They directed You, Me, and Dupree.
One of my favorites. And they are directing the Infinity War.
Yep.
Which is really exciting because I honestly think, like, I've watched... You know, like we said, we watched all these movies and we like all the directors, but I think for the Infinity Wars and for Avengers, it does feel like the two brothers have got the best grasp on this universe.
Oh, by far. I mean, they did this and Civil War. They're clearly two of the best 4 or 5 movies in the MCU. Civil War is basically an Avengers movie, so they gave them, you know, the free reign to try to make basically an Avengers movie, and they did.
And they
crushed it.
Yeah.
And I think it was just pretty smart on their part. If you're going to give... They're spending $1 billion, I think, to make these 2 movies, right?
Yeah.
So it's if you're going to put $1 billion of investment into something, go off of quality.
Yeah, get the people that you know it the best.
You know the movie's going to make money.
Now,
so
I know Mangold could have he would have been too dark.
Yeah, Mangold's
unfortunately
too hit or miss.
Yeah. Kevin Feige, just go read about him. He's one of the gods of Marvel. It's him and Alan, or not Alan. What's the other guy's name?
Who you got about?
The other major producer that like produced.
Talking about Avi Arad, the guy from before.
No, not Avi. There's 3 of them. Then there's Avi Arad, Feige, and there's the one other guy.
Okay,
let me look it up. Go ahead and
my
phone dies.
Yeah, I mean, so talking about Kevin Feige, there's a really interesting article that was just in Vanity Fair last month, or maybe it was this month. I think it was last month, and he basically gets the entire cast of the 10 years of the MCU all together because it was getting close to the 10-year anniversary. It's a photo shoot. There's all the different covers. Most of you guys probably saw it, but it's a fascinating read. He talks about the whole process of starting the universe out and this risk that they took and the actors and making these single films and you know, Avengers having to come together and how it came together. It's this really cool article. He just tells the whole story looking back on it, and it makes you realize that it's been 10 years. So like good examples of this are like Gwyneth Paltrow. I was thinking about when they made Iron Man.
She's great as Pepper.
She's fantastic.
Yeah.
And I was thinking at the time, I thought that I remembered that when she made Iron Man, she was like past her prime as an actress. Like I remember thinking at the time, like, oh, she's not like, you know, the young starlet who's up and coming.
Because she was way bigger in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Right. Yeah. So to me it felt like I was like, oh, that's interesting. But then you think about it, and she was only like 35, 36. She was like still very much in her prime as a dramatic actress. But now it's been 10 years. Like Pepper, if she wants to stay in the universe, she can. Like she shows up in Homecoming for a second, I think. I think it's Homecoming. She shows up in for a second. But like, she's gonna be 50 pretty soon. She probably doesn't want to keep doing Avengers movies. Like,
yeah, especially as like a bit part, as like a is like a not even fully thought out side character. Pepper Potts has never been really like, for someone as high status as Gwyneth Paltrow,
Right.
it's always been a very tertiary character.
Totally. Like, the best thing she ever got was an Iron Man 3, and she gets to be Super Pepper for a second. But, like, bottom line is, what I mean is, in 10 years, it's amazing that you've watched, like, Robert Downey Jr. looks noticeably old now.
Yeah, he does look much older.
Versus the beginning. Like, he doesn't look like an old man, but, like, he looked like Tony Stark when he started.
Yeah.
Comic books don't age. They get to be the same for 100 years. People who play these roles have to age out of them eventually. It's just what happens.
Yeah. And since this is the first time they've all been kind of thrown on screen and it's all been doing so well, it'll be interesting to see what happens when the Batman effect happens and the Superman effect happens and the Spider-Man effect happens, you know?
I heard some stories about the final day of shooting, and I think I saw a tweet about this, but the everybody's giving each other hugs, and the Evans Robert Downey Jr. hug was like the longest, because like they've been doing this together for almost a decade. These two characters for almost a decade now. They kind of know it's going to be probably the last time they work together as these characters. It's what a crazy journey. Imagining being those guys. Like, they're not only are they getting the biggest roles, but they're also like, they were the faces of this thing that like revolutionized movie making.
Yeah, they created this incredible world, and it was basically just the two of them as, you know, the first Avenger and with Iron Man that started everything. And so, you know, Kevin Feige having the vision to just be like, nah, I think I know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go make a $1 billion movie in 10 years.
He tells a lot of stories because he's a giant comic book nerd. He tells a lot of stories about like making the first X-Men. He was like an assistant producer on it, I think. And he's the reason that Wolverine's hair is so pointy.
Yes.
Because he's like, they wanted it to be flatter, and he was like, no, it's just like, you have to make it pointier. But obviously then it, like, you didn't need to do that.
A little crazy.
It looks a little silly, and so they pare it down as it goes forward. Yeah, it's a good article. You give it a read.
So we go into critical and box office. This movie does phenomenally all the way across the board. Released by Buena Vista. It cost $170 million to make. It was released April 4th of 2014. It grossed 259 domestic, an additional 454 foreign, for a grand total of $714 million, and it opened at $95 million at number 1. Phenomenal. I mean, of course, they all do very well. IMDb gives it a 7.8. All critics give it an 89. Top give it an 82, and the audience gives it a 92. It all feels pretty...
Is there no... this is not in the top 250, huh?
It's not. It is not in the top 250. And yeah, it kind of surprises me. I wonder if superhero movies can get into the top 250 unless they're dark. You know what I mean?
Guardians is top 250, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, yeah, Guardians is in there, I think. But
Most
then otherwise, it's like Marvel. I mean, not Marvel. Logan, Wonder Woman, the Dark Knight franchise.
Wonder Woman's not really dark. Wonder Woman's just great.
Yeah, but tonally, it's much less of like these type of movies than, you know, I mean, it's like a darker overtone throughout. I mean, the hero dies, or one of the heroes dies, you know, so yeah, I don't know.
Interesting. Yes, this movie made a ton of money. $714 million worldwide.
Yeah.
Crazy.
So, favorite line, it's kind of tough in these movies, but there usually are some gems that stick out. Mine's really dumb.
What is it?
It's really stupid. Scarlett Johansson, she's like, "You want to play a game?"
Yeah.
And it's from
That's
me.
my favorite
Really?
line too.
Are you kidding me?
He's like, yeah, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw it. She's like, "Oh."
Because it's just like hilarious.
I can't believe that's your favorite line.
I had another one I liked too.
Positive that it wasn't going to be.
I thought it was really funny.
I laughed pretty hard.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because she's like,
because it's like totally what we would do. You want to play a game? Oh no, never mind. Yeah, it was perfect.
But he's like, but the way he says it, he's like, yeah, I've seen it. He's like, it's one of the 13 movies I watched when I got back to the real world.
Just like, why would you watch Saw? Yeah, that's the only one I have. What do you have?
That one, and then I also really like after the explosion happens, and he saves her, and they're talking at the house, and she's like, if the roles were reversed, and it was if it was up to me to save your life, would you trust me to do it? And he looks at her and he's like, I would now.
Yeah.
I think that's a cool line. I like that one a lot. And I think she says something else. She says something else to him right after, but I like that line a lot. I thought it was cool.
I really like their relationship, and I like how much it has evolved from the Avengers.
Well, yeah, they do a very good job. Like, to me, that's a good line. It's like such an indicative line of like who he is as a character. It's like the constant need to believe the good in everyone it's the character defining trait that he has that, like, again, I just think would fall so flat if you had cast 99% of actors.
Yeah. I totally agree.
I'll bet you Chris Evans is like a really good dude.
I think he is a good dude, and based off of like the roles that he's taken and how well he pokes fun at himself, I feel like he's awesome. I just hope that he's awesome. I've always loved Chris Evans, even though I didn't love him as Captain America originally. I love him.
Did you see the tweet from like 2 weeks ago about the Fantasy Football League? Oh my God, this is, if any of you guys who are listening or watching, go look this tweet stream up.
Is it where he's not invited into the league or something?
No, there's like 10 of them in the league, and it's all just like most of the Avengers and then some other people. Our buddy who works on these movies talks to us about Paul Rudd talking about fantasy. That's his league.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So Evans, like, somebody's like, who won the league? And Evans is like, me, for the second year in a row. And then like Don Cheadle tweets at him, and he says something like blah blah blah, and he's like, this coming from the guy who finished last place. And there's just like this whole exchange going on, and it's like the two of them, and like I know like Miles Teller's in the league and Paul Rudd's in the league.
It's just like us in our fantasy league talking shit to each other.
Yes, it's amazing. It's so good. I died laughing.
So for AMA questions, I kind of want to do the thing that we talked about with ranking to kind of answer a bunch of questions, because there's a bunch of things out there. Is like, you know, Aix has said, is Bucky a victim or a villain? You know, is Robert Redford one of the best in the universe, or is he the best in the universe? And so one of the biggest complaints of the Marvel universe is that the villains aren't that great.
Right.
And so I don't know if we have like a defined ranking.
Yeah, I mean, there's just not very many good villains. Like, so let's go movie by movie really quickly to try to remember each.
Ultron.
Yeah, you love James Spader. So, all right, the first one, you have Jeff Bridges as the villain. So we don't have to write that down.
Tony.
How
about Hugo Weaving as Red Skull? I think he's really good.
He's okay. We'll put him on the list.
Yeah.
So let's see. So Iron Man is the Abomination. Oh, Tim Roth's a sweet villain.
Tim Roth is a sweet villain. The Abomination is sweet.
Yeah, actually, Tim Roth is one of my favorites. That's the Hulk. Then the third movie is, I believe the third movie is Iron Man 2, which Whiplash and Justin Hammer. Those are both
my board.
Awful.
Give me my board.
Those are both bad. Then 2011, in the first Thor movie, the bad guy is like...
I mean, it's the
Loki.
Frost Giants or whatever, but it's essentially Loki. I think you throw Loki on the list for sure.
Loki's one of my favorites, yeah.
He's great.
Then Captain America, the first one, you got Red Skull. Then you have Avengers, you have the bad guy's Loki again.
Yeah.
2013 has the two sequels. It's got Iron Man 3, so you have Guy Pearce. We can skip him.
Throw the Mandarin in there.
Yeah, I want to throw him because I love Trevor. I think he's great.
You will never see me coming.
Yeah, he's a green screen.
The girls are fake.
What
about Guardians, though? Guardians.
You're skipping Thor: The Dark World.
No, I know I am.
I think that villain's bad. Guardians has...
I mean, there's Thanos, but in that one, it's what's his name, the blue guy.
Yondu? He's the bad guy in that movie?
No.
Oh, Ronan. He sucks.
Ronan. Yondu's sweet.
2014, you have obviously Winter Soldier and Redford in this movie.
Bucky.
Both.
I think Redford does a good job, but anyone could have been that guy. He's just a talking head in a suit.
Ant-Man is Yellow Jacket, Corey Stoll.
Nah.
Doctor Strange, it's Mads Mikkelsen. It's Dormammu.
No. I mean, Mads was sweeter in the trailers.
Yeah. Ultron is James Spader. You love him. We said
Number
Ant-Man.
one.
Doctor Strange, we said. Guardians.
Vulture. I love Vulture.
Oh, yeah. He's great, actually.
Keaton.
Yeah, I'll give you that. That's a sweet one. Vulture. So then all that's left are like the Civil War villain is Daniel Bruhl. He's Zemo, right?
Zemo, yeah.
Is he the only villain in that movie? Because they fight each other.
There's something else, yeah.
I think he's the only villain in that movie. And then Guardians 2, the bad guy is...
Is Kurt Russell.
Oh, Kurt Russell. Ego?
Ego.
He's kind of sweet.
I think what we have here is pretty is like...
Oh, and Ragnarok?
Everyone. You know, I wrote Hela down because she's great.
Oh, she's
I did write her down.
Yeah, she's great.
Blanchett. So, but honestly, we got this list of like almost 10. It looks like 8 here. And I think the ones that stand out the most for me are Loki, Bucky.
Yeah, so let's see. Loki, Winter Soldier. I think if you're going to do a top 5, do you want to put Ultron?
No, God, no, you don't have to put Ultron there.
I think Hela.
I think Hela is really good, and I honestly really, really love Keaton.
Yeah,
as
Vulture. Yeah, the only other one would be maybe Tim Roth. I think Abomination's awesome.
I do too, but I feel like we're missing something huge we're going to get crucified for, but I don't know what it would be.
We just went through every movie.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, we didn't miss any of them.
I mean, Thanos, but we haven't seen enough of him yet.
No, he's not a real villain yet.
Yeah.
I would put Tim Roth on
Nebula.
over
Nebula's
Reds.
pretty sweet.
He's kind of a villain.
Yeah.
I would put on Tim Roth over Red Skull. So
That's tough. See, I think it's just because I watched it yesterday.
Yeah.
He does such a good job. Hugo does. I might swap that out, but I'm okay with that.
I can give you Red Skull because Tim Roth is probably a reach. I
we
think the ranking would be 5th would be Red Skull. I think 4th would be
Vulture.
3rd would be Hela.
Yep.
Or 2nd would be Loki.
Yeah, and I think number 1 is the Winter Soldier.
I would definitely think so.
Yeah,
Loki's the
so.
best villain. If Winter Soldier's not technically a villain, then I would put Loki as the number one
Loki's
villain.
technically not a villain either. For what happens later on, then it would have to be Hela, which is she's awesome, but she died. Spoiler alert.
Both of the top 2, really, it's their duality that probably makes them the most interesting. Is that
you gotta love them. Just like the Brigadier General.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So, I mean, I think
that's our top
really
5.
Does it. Yeah.
If we're missing anybody major, or you guys think that like Mads or James Spader are incredible,
I do think James Spader is great.
or you like the Mandarin, Trevor, he's amazing. People don't like
so good in that.
People don't like that movie.
Like the turn feels a little ridiculous because it's like, but it's Shane Black, so it makes perfect sense.
Totally.
All right, guys, there are 3 action movie categories. There's totally ridiculous, totally legitimate, and ridiculously legitimate. Movies that are totally ridiculous are movies like Demolition Man. They kind of fall off the cliff of absurdity. Really hard to kind of
face off,
latch on anything real in them, but they're still enjoyable. Then there's the other category, totally legitimate. Those movies like The Fugitive, Gladiator, they could win an Oscar. They're held together very well, good storytelling, everything about it.
Lord of the Rings.
Feels very correct. And then there's the middle category, which is ridiculously legitimate. It's movies like The Rock, Speed, some of our absolute favorites. They're kind of crazy, but they're usually held together by at least a great performance, or maybe it's shot really well, directed really well. What do you think about this movie?
Point Break, etc.
Break.
For me, this movie is just very clearly totally legit because it really holds together the whole time. It never falls apart. There's even the stuff that like is kind of a little bit outrageous, like Project
like the
Insight.
Robot Machine.
Yes, or like just the helicarriers, like the idea that there's like these massive helicarriers that are being like made underground.
Yeah,
and they're like already built, and he's like, maybe we shouldn't build these. Let's have a subcommittee hearing.
Yeah, I mean, there's certain things in there, but you're already in this universe where there are parallel universes and aliens and these incredible technology that we can't even fathom yet. So, like, it all feels very legitimate to me.
I agree, yeah. Totally legit. That means there's only one last thing left to talk about on today's episode, and that's going to be called The Pitch. Looking at my phone and faking you guys out.
Me too. I was like looking away.
Yeah.
Trying to... What are they looking at? This is interesting. We're not sure what we want to do yet.
Yes. Well, this is what we're going to do. So, first of all, if you missed it at the beginning, guys, there is a Patreon. You can check out patreon.com/teamaction. This is not a Patreon in which we are going to be making Action Movie Anatomy and competing in the Schmodown and just asking for money. That's not the point. The point is Andrew and I are going to be making new movie-related content on our own every week. And if you want to check out that content, you can get it for a minimum of $1 a month. We'll be doing 4 videos a month to begin with, 1 every single week. They're usually going to relate to something going on that we're probably talking about on AMA that week.
Yeah.
If we're competing in Schmodown.
If there's a movie we're really excited about coming out, it will always be in relation to something in our lives that we are doing.
Also, like, if sometimes movies come out we can't do on this show, like they don't fit, so maybe we'll do mini AMAs on our own. Anyway, that's where you can check that out. Patreon.com/teamaction. Check out the tiers, kind of how we're going to do that whole thing.
Yeah, but we're putting up the first video as well, available to everybody to see, and in that we are ranking the 10 people who we think are best cast in the Marvel Universe, counting down from 10 to 1. And
the video is up now on my YouTube channel, Ben Bateman Media.
There's so much we can do. We can do live feeds, we can do posts, we can do pictures, we can do anything on there. So the possibilities are endless.
Endless. So check that out. And we're going to probably go to the Action Movie Anatomy fan page or the Twitter @AMA Podcast. We'll post the choice for next week within the next 48 hours, and there'll be something cool for you guys to check out there. If you want to follow me personally, you can find me at Ben Bateman Media.
And you guys,
Twitter or Instagram.
I just have been so excited this whole episode. You guys can find me at Andrew Ghai on Instagram or Twitter, and you can find the podcast at AMA Podcast.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Bye.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.